What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Berm, and today we're talking abilities. Now that the Teal Mask DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is out, we got new Pokemon. We got to talk about what their abilities are. Some of those abilities are new abilities. We got to talk about what they do, and some old Pokemon had their abilities switched up. So we're going to talk about that too. If you're excited to talk abilities today, like, subscribe, and comment below which abilities, which changes we discuss in this video that you think are going to be the biggest deal. Which things do you think are the biggest game changers for competitive Pokemon moving forward here in Regulation E? Kicking things off here, we're going to be talking about my guy, Monkey Dory. I love this Pokemon. I think it's super derpy, and if you read its Pokedex entry, it's basically Mojo Jojo. Not an element to and design that I thought I was going to love about it, but here we are. This Pokemon's abilities are Toxic Chain and Frisk. Now, Frisk, good on the ranked ladder, but with open team sheet, literally useless. So in tournament, if you're ever running Monkey Dory, I don't know if Monkey Dory is going to make it to tournaments, you're not going to run Frisk. You're going to run Toxic Chain purely because Frisk doesn't do anything for you. And what is Toxic Chain? Because obviously a couple Pokemon get this ability. Toxic Chain, actually, if we break it down, it's not as good as we thought it was, okay? Previously, we'd sort of thought that anytime a Pokemon hit Monkey Dory or Monkey Dory hit a Pokemon, the opponent was going to get the toxic status. That's not at all what's going on. The wording was actually super off. What Toxic Chain actually does, if we look at Showdown here, because they have a better ability breakdown than we just sort of copy and pastes what the in-game text says. It's just a 30% chance of badly poisoning, so a 30% chance of applying the toxic status when Monkey Dory hits an opponent with an attack. Now, is that an awful ability? It's not awful. It's not reliable. It's not consistent. And so, in fact, Toxic Chain, I don't think across the board, again, unless you're in tournament where Frisk doesn't do anything, so you might as well run Toxic Chain for the toxic chance. Toxic Chain's not like a couple of these abilities, there are hidden abilities. A couple of these new Pokemon, their hidden abilities are better than Toxic Chain, so I think a lot of people are going to end up running the other thing anyway, which is a shame because Toxic Chain is a unique ability, and I feel like it's immediately just going to get thrown out the window, purely because you can't really build a team around something that's not consistent, right? And none of these Pokemon are so good that they're blowing us out of the water with, like, Iron Hands, where, like, a lot of people run Iron Hands with Assault Vest. You don't even need its ability. So in that case, it's like you might as well slap Toxic Chain on it. It's like none of these Pokemon I think are going to be the next Iron Hand, so you kind of do want to like make use of their ability if you can. That's Monkey Dory. He gets Toxic Chain, which is good if you're running it in tournament, but I think on the ranked ladder, Frisk ends up being maybe a better option just for the fact that you're able to pat down your opponents, figure out where the items are in a ranked battle where you otherwise wouldn't. Okidogi obviously also gets Toxic Chain here. But its hidden ability is Guard Dog. And Guard Dog is really interesting because Guard Dog boosts the attack stat if intimidated. So instead of its attack being dropped on an Intimidate, it actually gets boosted. Also, moves and items that would force Okidogi to switch out also fail to work. I don't know if that includes its own eject pack, but like a red card or like Roar or like Whirlwind or something. I think it might honestly, like, that element of this ability is going to be more useful in like singles, because obviously Roar is more used in singles. But the Intimidate factor is pretty interesting because this Pokemon is a physical attacker, so you might want to intimidate it quite a bit. And even if you're not trying to intimidate it, like a lot of Pokemon are just going to run around with Intimidate. And like I think it's only one of like 3 Pokemon that even get this ability. No, it's only just Mabostiff and Okidogi. It was Mabostiff's signature ability up until right now. So Okidogi getting in on the fun with Mabostiff. I think it's a cool ability. I think it's useful. And I honestly think that Toxic Chain is probably the most useful on Okidogi because it's got the best bulk of any of the loyal 3. But again, like I said, it's not reliable. Like Toxic Chain, the idea there being that Okidogi's bulk helps it outlive the opponent, so Toxic actually has a chance of playing a role in Okidogi's like one-on-one ability against that Pokemon. But I think Guard Dog is honestly pretty solid. I think it's better than Toxic Chain. So I don't know. If I make an Okidogi team, and I will, I'll probably be running Guard Dog. Next up, we got Pheasantipity. Pheasantipity gets Toxic Chain and Technician. That's really good. So, yeah, Okidogi gets Guard Dog. Munkidori gets Frisk. Probably gets, shafted the most in the ability department. Doesn't get as good an ability as the other two. So Pheasantipity's contribution is that it's going to have Technician. And that's really interesting because if we look at its moves, what are some of the things it gets? In case you didn't know, Technician. If your base power of your move is 60 or less, the move gets boosted by 50%. So Double Kick becomes, instead of 30 base power, it becomes 45 base power. Stuff like Wing Attack and Aerial Ace, instead of 60, become 90 base power. It gets Tail Slap and Beat Up. Those moves are boosted. There was one more. Poison Tail gets boosted. So Poison Tail might be usable. Doesn't have the most moves, honestly, that it Dual Wing Beat. That's interesting. A lot of those moves I said were flying moves, and this Pokemon doesn't even get a stab boost to flying moves unless you Terra it, which I think is funny because you can hit this thing with ground moves, actually. It's a bird, but I guess it's a pheasant. They don't fly as much. Regardless, Technician is a cool ability. I don't know that this Pokemon makes use of it as much as like a Scizor does or a Breloom does, but it's interesting, and I think, honestly, yeah. Unfortunately, still better than Toxic Chain. Next up, we got Sinistcha. Guys, I love this Pokemon too. I didn't know how much I was going to love it. And as I was playing through it, the animations really make it for me. When this Pokemon crosses its little arms, it starts spinning around in its freaking little teacup. Ooh, you had me at hello, sir. Its hidden ability is Heat Proof. We know what that does. Damage from fire type moves, and the burn status is halved. Not awful for a grass type Pokemon, right? But the really interesting thing here is going to be Hospitality, which is its signature ability here. When the Pokemon enters a battle, it shows its ally, showers its ally with Hospitality, restoring a small amount of the ally's HP. We didn't know how much this HP was going to be. I'm here to report, and happy to report, that it is a quarter of the ally's HP bar, meaning that's basically a citrus berry. That's good enough for me, man. If it was going to be half HP, that would be insane. Like, that would be a lot of HP. And if it was going to be just like the amount of HP that like a leftovers gives you, that was going to be too little. I think a quarter amount is good enough. I think it's solid. I think that if you're playing with an ally who is like lacking a recovery option, a Milotic or a Dragonite that got faked out and is now below their Marvel Scale threshold, and now here comes Sinistcha, and it brings them back up to full health, like, that's fantastic. Same thing with like anybody who's holding a Focus Sash. Focus Sash. My Philadelphia's coming out. And just got faked out. You can restore that Focus Sash effectively by bringing in Sinistcha. I think it's interesting. It's not game breaking, I don't think. I just think it's going to be a unique little tool for this guy to use because he also gets some other really nice little tools. By the way, Poltergeist gets the same abilities, so I'm not going to be breaking down Poltergeist. This isn't what this video is, but Matcha Gotcha is an insane move. Look it up. This thing gets Scald. This thing gets Strength Sap. This Pokemon, I think, is actually going to be really freaking solid. We'll see how its typing factors into a meta that might otherwise say no. Because, it still is weak to, like, Shadow Balls from Fluttermane, which is not good news. But I think it might be really good. I hope it's really good. And I think Hospitality is a really, really neat new ability. Let's talk about Dipplin. Dipplin here gets Sticky Hold as its hidden ability. Its item cannot be taken. Not a lot of thievery going on in the Pokemon world, but I guess if a Golden Go was going to try and trick you and take your item, I said the Pokemon world, and in the VGC world, Sticky Hold would make it so that its item couldn't be taken. That's neat, but it's not what you're going to use. Gluttony is interesting. This Pokemon will use a berry when its hit points are below 50%. That's interesting. It's what Appleton also has. Not the bulkiest Pokemon in the world, and there's a reason also, I'll discuss in a second, why you're not going to use Gluttony either. The signature ability, Super Sweet Syrup, is actually, I think, really amazing because a sickly sweet Scent spreads across the field the first time the Pokemon enters a battle, lowering the evasiveness of opposing Pokemon. For a minute, at least until your opponent switches out, if they even can, you have a better chance at hitting moves. Now, Dipplin itself doesn't make the best use of it because it has a lot of accurate moves anyway. The biggest thing is that Syrup Bomb, its signature move that also lowers the opponent's speed every turn, only has 85 accuracy. It's really nice that its own ability supports that hitting better. But other than that, I mean, there's like Dragon Tail. Probably not going to use that a ton. Double Hit. Nobody's using that. Takedown. Nobody. We got like, I think it's like Giga Impact. No one's going to use that. Like maybe you'd use Leaf Storm, and that's 90 accuracy. So you're going to, hit those 100% of the time. Roll Out. Nobody's using that. Like it's really going to be nice for just its signature move, Syrup Bomb. And just if you're running it next to a Pokemon that wants to hit Sleep Powders or wants to hit Hypnosis or wants to hit, I don't think Focus Blast is making its way to VGC anytime soon, but there's plenty of inaccurate moves. It's just, I mean, Iron Bundle's going to love sitting next to this Pokemon, Bleakwind Storm next to a Tornadus is going to be really nice. I think Dipplin could be a nice support option. And the reason why I think you're going to use it over Gluttony anyway, I don't think this Pokemon's going to be holding a ton of berries, and I don't know if this is going to be fixed, but currently, don't shoot the messenger here, we might be in spoiler territory, but it's not official. Nothing's official. Eviolite works on this Pokemon. I saw this on Twitter. Okay, Eviolite works on Dipplin. Now, is that a mistake? Is it not supposed to work on Dipplin? I would totally see the Pokemon Company accidentally not flagging that in Dipplin's code or something. I could also see the Pokemon Company accidentally letting this be a hint to this Pokemon getting an evolution in the Indigo Disc. So it's possible that when the ranked ladder goes live in October, that the officially Regulation E goes live, that Dipplin no longer makes use of Eviolite because they're like, no, this is the final Evo. That was a mistake. It's also possible that you're running a Eviolite on this Pokemon and it's suddenly way bulkier than it would have been because all along this Pokemon's actually maybe going to get a third evolution, which would be really sick. Applin having 3 convergent evolutions and then the third one being actually sort of like a pseudo-legendary situation because it's a dragon grass type. I think it's pretty cool. I think that would be pretty cool. Now we're going to talk about a Pokemon whose life was just changed. Okay? This Pokemon was decent before. You didn't see it a ton. But guys, Empoleon had a big change. It no longer gets Defiant as a hidden ability, boosting what was not its main attacking stat. It's now competitive, which is like special Defiant. So suddenly, when this Pokemon gets intimidated, when this Pokemon has its speed dropped, when it has its, when we just talked about Dipplin. If Dipplin gets thrown out and its evasiveness gets dropped, special attack raised by 2 stages, immediate nasty plot added to Empoleon when its stats are lowered. And that is so cool because all along Empoleon has had these stats where it has, base 111 special attack, really solid, and only base 86 attack. And it learns all of these physical, moves in its move pool. And it's like, well, it does get Defiant, so you could justify running an Adamant one because you're banking on getting a Defiant boost. You don't got to worry about that anymore, okay? Because this Pokemon can actually work as a special attacker and benefit from its ability, which I think is just fantastic. Now, are we going to see it now a ton because of this ability? It's undoubtedly way better than it was, right? But here's the thing. It's going to be competing against Milotic still. Milotic gets competitive. It's a water type. I think it steals a few use cases away from Milotic, certainly, because Milotic does not... It's really about the typing, right? It's a straight water Pokemon and then a water steel Pokemon. Milotic does not resist extreme speed, for example, which we know is a big thing in VGC, at least at the moment. Milotic does not resist fairy moves. It's not immune to toxic and immune to poison moves. You could use this next to, a Sludge Wave user. All of these, Loyal 3 get Sludge Wave, and I think Monkey Dory might be the only special attacker, but, that's a possibility. The bigger thing is obviously Milotic is also not weak to ground. not weak to fighting. So I think Milotic will still honestly be the more water competitive standout Pokemon. But I'm very excited for Empoleon just for the fact that it now has better viability after all these years. Now that it's returning to a format, they also gave it a new tool. It's very cool. That's very cool. It's also not in Regulation E, I don't think, yet. I think it's in the game now, but I don't know that you can use it in Reg E. My reporting is iffy on that. All of my sources for what was going to be in the Teal Mask were basically wrong, so thanks, Sarah B. and Bulbapedia. Basically making guesses and me reporting on it like an idiot. Another Pokemon who's had its life changed recently, Shiftry. This Pokemon just got so much better. Hey, can you tell me what this ability is? It's not Early Bird anymore. Early Bird, what I would consider one of the worst abilities in the game, considering it just gave you like a better percentage chance of waking up earlier when you were put to sleep, and this Pokemon's immune to Spore and Sleep Powder. Wind Rider is now on more Pokemon than just Brambleghast. This Pokemon can take advantage, and it makes so much sense, right? If you know like the lore and what Shiftry is based on, like Wind Rider is absolutely fantastic. It gets Tailwind on its own too, by the way, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, there's Tailwind. And yeah, so it'll get an attack boost in Tailwind, and it also takes no damage from wind moves, which is fantastic. I think that like Shiftry users were really only trying to make it work hardcore in a chlorophyll setting. And it was like difficult. No more. The Shiftry teams you're going to see, and I don't think it's again going to be meta defining or even overused or anything like that. But a Wind Rider is going to be now what you see, just for the fact that it's immune to Bleak Wind Storm, it's immune to Blizzard, it's immune to Icy Wind, it's immune to Heat Wave. Like, these are all insane things for Shiftry to be able to say it's immune to. All of a sudden, life changed. Insane. You thought that Ludicolo was the better version exclusive. Well, all of a sudden, this guy's got something to say. I think that's so exciting. I really hope they do more of that in the Indigo Disc. And finally, finalement, let's talk about Ogerpon. Now, the Ogerpon's interesting because we don't know if Ogerpon's going to be usable in Reg E. Technically, we don't know if the Toxic Chain Trio is going to be usable in Reg E. I think that the Toxic Chain Trio will be, because they read to me more as legendary birds, whereas Ogerpon reads a little bit more to me, and this is purely based on vibes. First of all, immaculate vibes. Loved Ogerpon in the DLC. Way more than I thought I was going to. But more reads to me as maybe like a mythical or like a... It's interesting, right? Because it could be like an Urshifu, which is legal, or it could be like a Zarude, you know? Something like that, where it's like, oh, actually, it's never going to be allowed. But the reason why I said we don't know is also because there's currently an issue with the ranked ladder. I was seeing that the ranked ladder is not flagging any of the, like, it's flagging a couple of the new Pokemon. Like, I saw Nino talking about how he still can't use, like he can't use, like, Golem, but you can use Ogerpon on the ranked ladder right now. Pretty sure it's bugged. Pretty sure it's just that they didn't flag some of the new Pokemon for whether or not they were going to be stopped from being put on teams on the ranked ladder. So I don't know if we can 100% believe that it's going to be usable, but I certainly hope so, because this Pokemon's really interesting. It's really good, too. And it also gets a ton of abilities. So if you thought this video is almost over, you're absolutely wrong. If you don't know, first of all, Ogerpon's whole deal is that it gets 4 different mask items that it can hold. It changes the typing. It changes what moves are boosted, or sorry, what stats are boosted by Ogerpon when it terastallizes. And it also changes the typing of its signature move. Okay, so basically it has a water mask, a fire mask, a rock mask, and a grass mask, the Teal mask. Really interesting mechanic, and I think that we're going to see a little bit more of this too in the Indigo Disc, but technically when Ogerpon terastallizes, it does something a little bit different. It's not just like a crown on its head. It's like a giant mask, terastallized mask in front of its face. There's different mechanics involved in terastallization when Ogerpon does it. And I think that's pretty cool and pretty interesting. So let's break it down. And its base ability also changes based on which mask it's holding. So it's not just its ability that changes when it terastallizes, but that changes too. Okay, so there's a lot. There's a lot. Effectively, when it's in its Teal mask state, okay, its attack raises, it gets Defiant. Okay, it gets Defiant, which is great, right? Because technically, you could get intimidated way before you terrestrialize in a game. So Defiant is a really good ability, and it is a physical attacker. So the Teal Mask, really solid ability there. The Water Mask, the Wellspring Mask, gets Water Absorb. Another really great ability. It's not like Clodsire getting Water Absorb, where you would try to use a water move against it, and now suddenly it's Water Absorb. You're not going to be using water moves against this Pokemon a ton, but it's still a good ability. The Hearth Flame Mask, the Fire Mask, gets Mold Breaker. Probably the worst one, to be honest, because effectively what it means is like you can hit. Typically you see like Earthquake hitting Levitators with Mold Breaker. That's sort of the bread and butter use case, but it doesn't get Earthquake, I don't think, and just that's not as big of a deal. More so you're going to see that it can hit Heatran with fire moves, which is not bad, right? It's just not it's not overly usable. But if you're trying to use it as a fire type, like you're going to get Mold Breaker anyway. So, you know, no matter what you do. So Mold Breaker, not bad, but probably the worst of the options. Cornerstone, the Rock Mask, gets Sturdy. Maybe this is the worst one just because I would hope you don't need to use Sturdy, right? Especially because I'm pretty sure the entire ability, it's not like the ability stays and you get an additional ability when you terrestrialize. I think you just ditch the ability anyway. So Sturdy with the Cornerstone Mask implies that you're never going to be Terra-ing with this Pokemon. And I kind of think that Terra-ing is this guy's whole deal. Like he's kind of your dedicated Terra user in some ways. So, I mean, Sturdy, not awful. Again, you can't get knocked out in one hit and you don't ever have to worry about like getting hit by Fissure, I guess, is nice. But I think the best of these baseline abilities are going to be the Teal Mask, Defiant, and the Wellspring Water Absorb. And then we get the terrestrialized abilities. So all of these forms also get an additional ability. It's the same ability, so that at least makes it a little bit easier. But once you terrestrialize, your ability actually changes to one of these things. And basically, that ability is Embody Aspect. So your entire giant mask is what terrestrializes in front of you and boosts a stat that is different depending on the mask you're wearing. So the Teal Mask gets its speed stat boosted. And let's actually check. Showdown will tell us exactly what... It's by one stage. So the Embody Aspect, Showdown at least has it currently as just one stage. And I think that is right. I believe that's what it was saying when I was in the game. But getting your speed boosted by one stage is massive. So the Teal Mask gets Defiant before you terrestrialize and then boosts its speed. That's really good. I hope I don't have to tell you guys. That's a really, really solid combo. The Wellspring Mask, the Water Mask gets its special defense boosted. You know, we'll take that. We will take that. The Hearth Flame Mask, the Fire Mask that gets Mold Breaker, gets its attack boosted. That's really good too. Okay, so that's a +1 in the Fire Mask category. And the Rock Mask gets its defense boosted. Again, not bad. Like, what would have sucked is if they made this a physical attacker and then one of the mask types raised its special attack. And it was like, all right, that meant nothing to me. But they didn't. They basically gave it, like, things that actively help it, like boosting its speed or its attack. And then, like, special defense and defense, which is like, yeah, sure, I'll be a little bulkier. Why not? Why not? And you'll see this Pokemon already has base 110 speed as it is, so suddenly it can, like, get that +1 speed boost and challenge some of the really speedy Pokemon in the meta. And it gets 120 base attack, so this Pokemon's going to be cracking stuff. And then finally, I think that this is technically its ability that does, you know, affect this. Look at these masks. They're so cool, dude. I'll say I think the worst mask might be the Rock Mask mechanically, but it's my favorite design-wise. I think it's really fun. I love that giant blue mustache. Again, I go for the derpy stuff. But the other thing that it does technically change is the signature move, which is called, it's such a cool, Ivy Cudgel. Ugh, that is such a cool move. It's like this sweet little like ogre Pokemon carries around a freaking cudgel that basically it's wrapped in ivy, but it like sets it on fire. It fuses it with water, or it's like a rock cudgel based on that mat. It's so cool. But it basically has a heightened critical hit chance. That's not bad. It's 100 base power. That's not bad. And its type changes to water with the Wellspring Mask, fire with the Hearth Flame Mask, and rock with the Cornerstone Mask. The best typing for a move to be there, probably water. Offensive typing. Rock isn't bad either, honestly. But all 4 of these are good attacking typings. So that's like another really nice added bonus to Ogerpon and its whole, everything it's got going on with these abilities and its whole ability situation. It's going to be a really interesting Pokemon, especially if it's usable in VGC. It'd be such a shame if they like planned all of these crazy mechanics around one Pokemon and then they were like, yeah, but you can't use it. But you know, Pokemon does that. Pokemon does that. They'll never be able to justify why, in my mind, they do stuff like that. So I really do hope that Ogerpon does not get screwed in that category. That also brings us to the end of this video. That's all the new Pokemon. That's all the new abilities. Sorry, no, I was wrong. Quickly inserting this here. I don't know how. I forgot about the coolest freaking Pokemon in the DLC. Blood Moon Ursaluna. I forgot about it because it's a different form of a Pokemon that already does exist, technically. But it does get a new ability. So I do quickly want to break that down. I'm sorry, the video was almost over. We were almost there. And that ability is Mind's... I mean, look at this thing. I want to talk about it for hours, but I'm going to quickly try to do this. Mind's Eye. The Pokemon ignores changes to opponent's evasiveness, which is basically like Keen Eye in a way. I think Keen Eye stops accuracy drops. Its accuracy can't be lowered. There you go. And it can hit ghost types and normal and fighting type moves. So it is also scrappy. It's like Keen Eye and Scrappy are smashed together, which is pretty neat. And it's especially neat because this thing gets a signature move called Blood Moon. And Blood Moon is a 140 base power special move that is a normal type that ghost types cannot be immune to. That's pretty massive. So just like something like Applin, where its signature ability also has synergy with its signature move, bringing it to, you know, from 85 base accuracy to being much more accurate. This Pokemon also has a signature move and a signature ability that coincide with one another. I think that's really cool. I'm excited to see how good this Pokemon is. I don't know if it's going to be as good as baseline Ursaluna, but we can all agree it looks cooler. Back to the outro. And I hope that you enjoyed. We'll do another thing like this for when the Indigo Disc comes out, because there's some new Pokemon coming in that as well, I'm sure. Looking at you, buddy. Yeah, just let me know if you enjoyed this kind of video. Let me know what we discussed that you think is going to be the grossest thing on the VGC ladder. What things you're disappointed by. What Pokemon do you wish got better things? Are you disappointed by Toxic Chain not actually being as usable as the wording they gave us initially made it seem? I'm bummed by that, if I'll be honest. I also might be happy about it in the long run, because it would be pretty awful if it was poisoning things every time it attacks something. But yeah, thanks so much for watching this video. Again, like, comment, subscribe. I'm loosely trying to reach 10K by the end of the year. Not sure if it's mathematically possible, but we're gonna be going for it. Can't wait. Streams every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're gonna be using Regulation E teams before the format is officially live. Although I guess it's officially live by accident right now on the ranks ladder, so go check that out. But definitely come by one of those streams, because we'll be battling against the chat. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to experience the Teal Mask with all of you. And thanks for joining me here today in the first place. I'm going to get the heck out of here. Until next time, my name is Berm. See you later.